Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Pursuit of Happiness. We are doing a effing Bravo episode today. This is going to be post BravoCon. Lots to talk about. Let's get into it. So first, I want to just kind of go over some of the announcements that I had heard. Now, I'm going to give full disclosure. I have not actually watched any of the stuff that aired. Here we have it on Amazon Prime. And hey you, I just haven't watched. I just feel like, I got enough clips watching him. I already watched the shows already. Maybe at a time when I don't have as much to do and I'm just kind of out of show ideas and I just want something to watch, I might at that point get into it. But right now my schedule is just so packed. I just don't think I can process much more. Mind you, all the important stuff, which we will get into, I've already seen, and I know what's happened. So let's get into some of the announcements. I saw the Housewives of Rhode Island. Finally, the trailer dropped. Excited for that. Literally, Dolores has a twin. Who would have known? They're identical. They talk the same, everything. Now, I had heard that Dolores was going to make some appearances because the whole thing with Jersey not coming back on, a lot of people were saying that Dolores has moved on to Rhode Island. Trailer drops. We see that she's got a twin on Rhode Island. And she probably made a couple appearances. I don't think she's a friend. I've just made a couple appearances, scratch your back. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Her friend's starting off on the show. She just kind of wanted to be supportive. She knows the girls anyway, so why not, right? Then the Valley Persian version, which another big headline had dropped, and that's Mercedes Javid is getting divorced from Tommy. And this is so weird because I swear to God, you guys, they had done a podcast, the last podcast that they did together, if anyone listens to it. The podcast was coming to an end, and then they started kind of getting into it, arguing about this message that Andy had left. I think it was for Mercedes, and they said, so I don't remember exactly, please don't quote me on this, but somewhere along the lines of Mercedes was Andy's saying that it's going to be the Valley Persian style. And Tommy's like, no, it's not. It's going to be the Valley Persian version. All this kind of stuff. I wrote in the notes the Valley Persian version, but I think it's the Valley Persian style. I'm not too sure. I don't even know. I just know that I saw the trailer dropped. Seems like all the regular cast is back. There is a funny guy in there. His name's Reza, I believe. He's a comedian. I always see stuff on TikTok and Instagram. Clearly, Gigi hasn't changed. She was trying to beat somebody up in the trailer. I'm like, dude, we're old now. Let's get over this. Reza's still complaining about Adam. 10 years later, and this is still your storyline. Although I'm just judging by the 30-second trailer that I watched. So I'm kind of excited to see. But even my friends that are Persian that don't watch The Valley or don't know anything about Bravo, they were sending me the trailer. They're like, Charles' Sunset is back, but it's a different name. It's called the Valley Persian, whatever. I'm like, yes, we know. So it's exciting. It's kind of hitting the Persian community. I can't wait to see what the Valley Persians have to bring this time. But it is kind of sad with Mercedes and Tommy. They always seem to... Tommy did the podcast quite often alone. He really tried to get through Davida as well. So there was breakthrough in the relationship. I just feel like that fight that I listened to, it was they were both trying to prove each other right. And I hadn't seen that from them in a long time. But, you can work on yourself, but sometimes for example, okay, me, I can get really reactive sometimes and aggressive. And as much as I've worked on it and I'm not as active and impulsive and aggressive as I've been, sometimes I'm just triggered and it comes out. So I feel with them, I hadn't seen anything like that from them for a long time. They would have conversations and they would talk through it on the podcast, argue, but then get over it and get through it. And a lot of times they agreed a lot more, and they're making so much progress in the relationship. And it's we've changed so much from when we first started dating and just a lot of stuff. And then it was just so crazy to hear the announcement. Like, I thought it was fake. I'm like, no. And then when I went back and I checked, it was really real. And I was like, I was telling my daughter Mercedes, I'm like, Mercedes, yes, I named my daughter Mercedes, but not after her. But I was like, Mercedes, do you remember when we were listening to their podcast and we could hear them arguing at the very end? And they kind of left off on a bad note. And it was like back to the old way that they were, like trying to prove like who's right and who's wrong. And I don't know who was right and who was wrong because I'm still forgetting if it's the Persian version or Persian style. But regardless, it's like they ended the podcast still trying to prove to the other that, no, it's this way. No, Andy left this. It's this. And you could just tell that had the problems really been solved? At the core of it, are they still trying to one-up each other, you know? And sometimes, like I said this in my bodybuilding podcast, sometimes people are great people, but together they're just not good. They're like oil and water, right? So exciting news with that. Now, two parties that I did not see or see any clips of were the Real Housewives of Cheshire. And that's fine. I know that they're not maybe with Bravo, but they're still the Real Housewives of Cheshire. They've been on for 12 years or something. I love that show. And the Real Housewives of London. I'm surprised that they weren't invited for their first BravoCon because they are with Bravo Entertainment. So that's just so interesting. But anyways, those are two that I was like, it'd be nice if they were here. I'm not too sure about the other like Housewives of Sydney or Lagos or the ones South Africa, all the ones there. I haven't really researched on them to see it. I don't really watch them, but just Cheshire's been around for so long, so I'm just surprised that it wasn't there. Anyways, moving right along. Another big news. The news about Melissa, Joe, and Teresa. I am so happy to hear this. I've always been Team Teresa, but that's only because, and I know I'm trying to justify it now that they're friends, regardless of me having my loyalty to Teresa, because I grew up in an area, I went to high school and elementary school in an area where there was a lot of Italians. And so Teresa reminds me of like, not only the Italians that I grew up with, that now that they're moms, but also the Italians that were moms, and just her vibe just reminds me of that area that I lived. And she also a little bit reminds me of my mom. And sometimes, you know, my mom being English as her second language, you tell her something and it takes her a minute to like process and like, you know, so I've always loved Teresa. And I've watched Jersey from the beginning seasons. Now, obviously when Melissa did come on, I don't know how other people see it, but for me, and I know a lot of people, even if they're, or whatever, I guess they could be Team Teresa or whatever, when Melissa came on, it was a bit aggressive. Like, they did kind of get into a fight their first episode, and it was just like, we didn't know who she was, et cetera, et cetera. I think part of the reason that there was just so much butting heads is Teresa grew up with a younger brother. Teresa's a lot like me. Every time I would meet a group of girls when I was in high school or like even a little bit out of high school, I'd be like, these are my cousins, because I'm the oldest girl cousin on both sides. I'm the oldest daughter, the oldest girl, both out of all four of my grandparents, out of my mom's side and my dad's side. I have a younger brother, 5 years younger. I grew up like kind of tomboy with like mom, and I grew up around a lot of men. So I wouldn't be envious, but I just want to be included in any type of groups of females, especially as family. And there are so many groups of girls that I did go through that I was like, oh my God, we're cousins now, we're cousins. And they'd be like, yeah. And I'd always want to hang out with them. And for the most part, they were great. They would always include me. But then obviously there's things that they would do just family and I wouldn't be invited. I would just feel so left out and heartbroken. So I feel like a lot of contention came from there. Like when Teresa was so excited that her brother was dating this girl that has two older sisters. She was like, great, I'm going to be part of something. Like there's going to be women around. But Melissa didn't feel that way, you know? Melissa already had her, those are her sisters, you know? I think at that time she didn't understand, and maybe to this day she still doesn't, but and not in a mean way, but how much that would have meant to Teresa to be included in a family of women. And I think when Teresa found out that Melissa had no interest in having one extra sister, it kind of pushed Teresa away a little bit. So Teresa goes off with her Joe, and then Joe and Melissa go off, and from there I'm not a psychic, and nor was I there, but I feel like a little rift started at that point. So since Teresa was like, okay, like, this is going to be my sister-in-law, but maybe not as embraced with open arms, like, yeah, you're the fourth sister, come join us. She sort of put her guard up a little bit. And then moving forward, then you get to the christening where we saw it, and who knows what had happened before, you know? And then all the resentment and all the feelings of left outness and everything just starts coming out. And for many years afterwards, it starts coming out. Now, even though I'm Team Teresa, I'm also Team Tamara. I love Tamara. Just like you being a good friend, there are times when you watch what they do and you're like, come on, Tamara, like, just fucking say it, you know what I mean? Or same thing with Teresa. You'll be like, Teresa, just don't act dumb. Just say sorry, you know? When it comes to Teresa and Melissa, I'm not saying Melissa always has to be the bigger person. I do really want her, and obviously we're not going to be involved in this, but and I think that they shouldn't. I think that it should stay behind closed doors, but it would be nice if she just took accountability. And I think out of Teresa's mouth, just say it, Melissa. Like, just say, yeah, Teresa, you were on the show first. Like, what's the big deal? I think if it actually comes out of her mouth, Teresa will let it go. And let's just say Melissa listens to this, and Melissa will be like, that's so dumb. Of course, we all know that Teresa was on the show first. I mean, you can't edit Melissa into those first 2 seasons. Melissa's not dumb. She knows. But where I think the problem is that it just hasn't come out of her mouth yet. And this is sometimes when she's like, yeah, like, you know, and nothing bad, but in the past she'd be like, well, me and Teresa are the oldest housewives on that show. We've been on since the very beginning. In those moments, if she says, well, Teresa's been on since season 1, I came in season 3, if she that's the accountability piece that I feel like if Teresa heard it, like, okay, so she knows that it would help mend a lot of things. Because my brain works that way. And again, if Melissa or Melissa fans are listening, or Team Melissas or Melissaners are listening to this, they're going to be like, well, why does she have to repeat that out loud? Like, obviously we all know. Yes, we all know, but sometimes people's brains just process things differently. And Melissa seems to be a much more rational person, whereas Teresa's a bit more impulsive, like myself. So that's why it's easier for me to be in a position to understand what Teresa's going through. But I have been in the shoes of Melissa before as well, with some certain friends that their brains are a little bit more autistic, ADD, and I have to be the bigger person in those situations. Like, usually I'm the one that's like, why do I always have to be the person? You know, I'm much more impulsive in other situations. So all I'm trying to say is Melissa has always been the one that's been calm and rational. She's been able to like keep a calm composure, unless obviously pushed to the max. And Teresa's always been the more impulsive one and more reactive, and maybe takes things the wrong way and doesn't process it rationally first, reacts first, and then will calm down. So it's great to see that she's the one that initiated this kind of closure to end this family feud. But I think what would really solidify it, obviously Teresa has to apologize on her end, like, sister-in-law, I'm just really want to be included in your family because I didn't have sisters, and I always felt like I could never fully be part of, you know, your family. Like Joe was, but not me, you know? Like, just say it, Teresa. Just fucking say it, you know? And then on the opposite end, Melissa be like, listen, you'll always be part of this family. Like, you're the aunt of my kids and Joe's sister. I didn't know that you wanted to be the fourth sister, but sure, like, you know? And then you have the Lisa and the other one in the background, like, no, we don't need her. Because I heard that there was a lot of beef amongst the 2 other sisters of Teresa. But anyways, and then just say, Teresa, we all know you've been on the show first. We all know that me and Joe came season 3. But let's move forward from that, you know? Because I know if I heard that and I sort of react the way that Teresa does, it would just mull things over completely. That's the accountability piece that I feel like is missing, you know? It stemmed from Teresa really wanting to be involved and be another sister. Because again, I was like that. Like, I grew up with a boy. I grew up around boys. And there were so many groups of girls that I went through that were sisters and cousins. And, oh my God, I'm the cousin too. We would call each other cousins. It was so cool for me to say that I have a cousin, you know? And then, like, they would have a family barbecue and I wouldn't be invited. Because I'm not part of the family. I'm just a friend. And I would be so crushed. And I would get mad at them because my teenager brain just wanted to be included. I just wanted family and I wanted girls to be part of my family. God ends up giving me a daughter many years later, but I'm just saying, like, if I could just put in my 2 cents, this is where I feel like this is going to thrive. So back to if I'm Team Teresa or Team Melissa, I am Team, I loved Family Vacation when they were tight as thieves. That, like, not Family Vacation, sorry, that's Jersey Shore. Ultimate Girls Trip, when it was Teresa and Melissa, that was the best. Like, I love that. And it's kind of going to be exciting if they are back on Jersey to see how the dynamic is between the family. Like, is it going to be them against the world, or I'm interested to see if something happens and a brawl ends up happening. Like, Teresa will be like, no, that's my sister-in-law. And then she's like, I can just picture her writing to Melissa and be like, this bitch said them shit about you. And then Melissa will be like, yeah, so she does really have my back. You know what I mean? Like, and it's also great for the kids. Again, I was just saying that, like, cousins and I want to be part of something. It happens in Persian culture as well. I think it happens in every culture. You're just unaware of it until you get older. A lot of times, families get into fights and they don't talk to brothers, sisters, cousins, parents for years. And my dad's side of the family is a lot like that, and they're a bigger family, so my dad didn't stay in touch with the family quite as often as, like, my mom on her side would. Mind you, they live so far away, but my mom was constantly having phone calls and, like, we could talk to our cousins. Whereas on my dad's side, I'm a little bit more distant with them because they weren't as close. There was always a fight. So I would always be like, well, who cares? Like, who cares that you're fighting with them? I want to talk to my cousins. But I was like, no, I'm not going to call them. So it affects everybody, And here I am, the girl that just wanted to hang out with girl cousins, and have girls in my life. And I do now, but they're a lot younger. They're like 15, 20 years younger. So anyways, am I happy about it? I'm so happy. Melissa's always been, like, one of the better housewives, but I just get so annoyed with her. I'm like, Melissa, just, oh my God. Like, and same with Teresa, don't get me wrong. Like, but this dynamic is just, it's so encouraging for people too, to see that the whole conflict resolution part of it, that you can get past it. And I think time does heal all wounds. Like, it just takes time. You just got to let people experience what they need to experience to have their mind shift, So anyways, this is a big lesson that I've learned in life. Things will always change and happen, and it will work out. You just have to trust the process. Moving along to Dorit accepting her award, not reward. And then she lights up the cigarette. I loved it. Because she literally took all the rumors that people have been saying with her and her cigarette smoking. And mind you, I used to smoke cigarettes as well. I don't know if you can tell by my voice. I get so many people that come in my social media comments and they're like, you sound like a man. Persians generally, it's genetic. Some of the, not all, but some of the women do have deeper voices. The girl that does my eyebrows, she has a very deep voice. We have deep voices, raspy voices. I was a smoker as well. It's just genetic. Some will say that it's steroids. I've never injected steroids for my voice to change. So, but I did smoke a lot of cigarettes and I was a heavy pot smoker. So that could contribute a lot to it. Anyways, regardless, the cigarette was just, I loved it. I loved what she did there. And everyone, I could see, like, even Wes was, like, clapping for her. Like, it was just great because it was just such a, I would say TV moment. Like, it's going to be a classic moment, Then I heard on the Two T's podcast, the Two T's in a Pod with Tamara and Teddy. It was actually Alexis that was interviewing Galena. Galena was there. So happy because I love Galena. And the McBee boys were there. I bet you they were just like, what the heck is going on? So it's nice to see that they were there. Wendy and Stacy. So Wendy surprisingly was there. And she says that she's close to Stacy now. It's like, oh, really? So you gave Stacy so much shit throughout the season. And then in the end, she's one of the only ones that's stood by you. I don't know what to think about Wendy in the situation, but We'll see. Again, time will tell. I'm waiting for the facts to come out. So far, it's been a lot of what Wendy does. It's a lot of like denying things and like a lot of like PR cover-ups, like changing the narrative or changing the story so it doesn't seem as bad as when you hear it, or to make it seem like there was an error on the part, a clerical admin error or something on the part of the, like I want to say FBI or the insurance company or whoever's kind of investigating this, but it's kind of obvious that something did happen that was wrong. Because of all the people in America, how come this family is the one that seems to be targeted? Allegedly, something has happened. And it does not mean that they're guilty, but it's just something is just wonky, and I'm just going to wait for the facts. But in the meantime, again, accountability would be nice if Wendy was like, look, we will come out and we will chat about this when it's time. But just a flat out like denial of it, it's like, how come I'm never arrested? Or like police after me? It's like, you just, if you're in a pool of water and the water gets dirty, you might get some dirt on you. So were you in the pool, Wendy, or not? You know? Shout out to Alexis Bellino. I know I'm going through these topics kind of quick, but Alexis was doing the 2 T's in a pod. And I know she's done some Carlos King stuff. I love Alexis. She is exactly who she is off screen, on screen. Like you can just tell by the way she speaks. And I love her so much. And I wish that she would get another chance to be on the show. And I hope that the producers see that, because like it happened with Alexis. Then it happened with Katie. And then it happened kind of like with Gretchen. It's like they're just trying to like shove the new housewives off. It's almost like Emily and Gina and Heather and Shannon. They just, and I've said this before, they just can't handle someone new coming in. It's like, do you bitches remember when you were new? I'm sorry, and we'll get into this in another episode that I'm going to go over the OC reunion, but did you just not see what happened between you and Tamara at the reunion? Like, just, you've been in the place of these new girls. Put yourself in those shoes just for 5 minutes. You don't need to kick people off the show. You need to like show us as women that you can resolve conflict. Because every season somebody new comes and then it's always like these big fights just to get them off the show. It's just ridiculous. So back to Alexis. She did so fabulous doing the interviews. And if anyone that has any sort of pull out there, please bring Alexis back for another season. Like, give her a chance. I love her so much. On the topic of Real Housewives of Orange County, Vicky got her orange back. For season 20, she will be there. A lot of talk on who's returning and who's not. I thought that Shannon might not come back. But the word that's going around now is that they want to see the 3 amigos unite. But it's like, or the amigas, sorry. It's like, do we really want to see them reunite, though? Maybe Tamara and Vicky with this new dynamic, you know, especially like she's got the orange back, so she's going to be a full-time cast member. But I don't really need to see the 3 amigos. Mind you, like the whole drinking part of it is like part of the reason why Tamara decided not to be part of it. And like, I don't know. I'm just not really interested in Shannon's life. Especially not the way she treated Alexis and the way she treated Katie. And me hearing that she's like one of the meanest people to the production and the backstage and the crew and stuff. It's like, who do you think you are? Moving right along, Sheena and the beef with everybody. I did hear that Sheena has been talking to Lala, but like just keeping it really brief. I mean, their daughters go to the same school. They're part of the Bravo world. It was great to see Sheena there, considering like she's not back on any shows and whatnot, but she's a big part of the Bravo world, especially with Vanderpump Rules. But I didn't see many of the clips with her. Maybe if I do watch the whole BravoCon video clips, I'll see more of her, but I just saw through her socials and maybe 1 or 2 clips, but it was nice to see her there. And obviously I heard Tamara talk about her, and it's just funny that it's gotten to this point, you know? And I hope that Sheena is, I hope that it comes back for Sheena by Gretchen if the roles were reversed. Because I feel like sometimes Sheena can be too loyal and then it backfires on her. And then when the roles are reversed, hence Katie, even Jen to a point. And as much as I like Gretchen, I just don't see that it's like reversed. She will sort of bow out to kind of save face. And Sheena, people are allowed to give their opinions, so you shouldn't be so upset. And you're allowed to give yours, but like you've been in the industry for so long, you should just take it with a grain of salt, you know? It's not like people are trying to walk all over you. They're just giving their opinions on their podcast. Just because it involves you, their opinion doesn't mean that, you know, now there's war. If she had left it at that, cool, but it's because she commented back to it and she made something that was out of nothing. I'm not saying it's her fault. I'm just saying like she reacted a little bit more coming from a person that's hurt. And then I think then it clocked into people's radars that something's why she's so upset. And then the beef stuck, right? Luann and Erica, that was kind of interesting for the squash to beef. I just saw clips, but I saw that it wasn't resolved. And it's so interesting to me when I see the older ladies of Bravo like have beef and not be able to resolve it. Now, I do love Erica, but I don't always like her when she's just really dismissive of people, which I think is ironic because we did watch that clip of Tom being dismissive to her. So you would think that she understands how that feels and she could just acknowledge it, but maybe she was just caught off guard. She just completely ignored what Luann said. And that I find a little bit immature. Like, you're also not 20 anymore, you know? As much as I love Erica, I just wish that she would have acknowledged it a little bit more. And even to say that she was caught off guard, Erica's usually pretty quick, you know? So, but she literally sat there quiet and she didn't want to squash the beef. It's like, don't be petty either, Erica. Like, you're so much more better when you're not so petty, you know? Robin Dixon on Two T's in a Pod. It was nice to hear from her. I don't listen to Reasonably Shady, but I did love her on Two T's. And one thing I also loved is that she didn't, and when I do Real Housewives of Potomac, I will go over it then. I love how she didn't show up to the party. That was for Reasonably Shady for their 10 million downloads. Why should she? She's not on the show. She's not going to show up there for free. And we all know that that wasn't really a Reasonably Shady party. It was just a party to have so that you could gather up all the women and have a scene. So, but it was good to hear from her too. Mary Cosby, I heard, was the queen. Everyone just really wanted to meet her. And Sheena was like on her podcast, she's like, Mary knew my name. And everyone cheered for her. So that's really nice to see, especially how far Mary has come and just what she's going through. And it's just nice to see at least one person on this Housewives shows that just stays true to her character, you know? Another thing that I heard on another podcast, the All About TRH podcast, was how one of the girls, Roxanne, really wanted to meet Jeff Lewis, but unfortunately for her, Jeff brought out Tamara and Bronwyn. And I guess she's also had set opinions about them, and just recently, more so, leading up to Bravo. And Bronwyn caught wind of one of these comments, and so Bronwyn was kind of feeling a certain way towards All About TRH. And then when she got up to actually see Jeff Lewis, Tamara was there, and so she told Tamara, let's squash the beef. And then Tamara kind of made it all about her and was like, I don't have an issue with you. I've never done anything to you. I've never heard Tamara use their names, but she has made really strong allegations about just bloggers in general. And leading into that, Tamara also mentioned at one point that when she was with Teddy on the pod that they were doing from their hotel room, that like Teresa was mad at them for a period of time because of their take on some of the shows. And she was like, but we are an audience. We're giving our opinion as an audience, not as like bloggers or whatever. And I get that. You guys have a podcast, so you're going to give your opinion. But here's where you kind of cross the line. It's like, you give your opinion as an audience member, but then, oh, production probably set that up. Oh, that was something production paid for. Oh, yeah, well, you know that production wanted. Oh, yeah, you know that she was told to say that. Oh, you know that production told them to wait. And they were like, they're the ones that tell people to go into the party. So they weren't actually late. It's because production held them back to make it seem like they were. So if you're going to be an audience member, you can't be given the behind the scenes of what production is doing and who's paid for the trips. And you know she didn't pay for that trip. You know the production of this. You know that blah, blah, blah. Why would they do that? Because now you're kind of crossing that line. So yeah, your other colleagues that are on other housewife shows are going to be like, well, if she knows that production does this and the way they edit, why is her opinion so strong about me? If you're really going to give an opinion as if you're an audience that's just watching it and you have no idea what's going on behind the scenes, you have to just leave it at that. Because once you incite that you understand what happens behind the scenes as well, and you're giving your opinion as an audience member, again, to your colleagues that are in the same boat as you, they're going to be like, how is she not understanding that this was just for TV or whatever? And to be honest, they've been doing that a lot lately, especially when it's Tamara and Dolores. They're always talking about how production is like doing this and makes them do this. It's like, is this a scripted show now or like what? Like just, it's okay to break the fourth wall, but now they're just kind of, and I'm surprised they haven't been in trouble for doing this yet, but like they're just blaming a lot more things on production. Where like before it just actually genuinely seemed like this housewife threw a party, you know? I don't like it. I don't mind the fourth wall being broken, and instead of them saying New York, them saying the reunion, or if something happens, like, you know, when the cameras are up, you act so different. Like, that's the type of fourth wall breakage that I don't mind seeing. But when you're giving your opinion and you know the behind the scenes and you're constantly alluding to production, sort of setting up the scene so it plays out a certain way, that comes across as fake, scripted or not. So this was probably why Teresa and other cast members get upset with you when you do give your opinion, followed by you also understand what's going on 100% behind the scenes. Then you are not an audience member. You are a working employee of this production company and you understand what's happening. So yeah, that's going to piss people off. That's just like me walking into a business and I'm a customer and I don't know the politics of the business. But let's say I walk into that business, but I work at another branch and I start giving my opinion about like what's happened. People that my opinion or that something negative or whatever has happened to them are going to be like, well, you should understand because you work for this company too. Instead of me just being a customer and giving my opinion, now I'm giving the behind the scenes and at our place, at our location, it's like this. And they're going to have us feel a certain way about it because you clearly know what's going on. So why would you even think that if you already know what's going on behind the scenes? You know, so I could have seen that. And unfortunately for them, it's just a bad position to be in. But I just feel when Dolores and Tamara are doing the show, they need to stop talking about production, doing all these things, because it looks a bit manufactured. It just does. I saw Carol Radziwill was there. That's kind of interesting. I think of all the people that Andy had beef with, Nene, Carol, Bethany, like, firm stance on Bethany never coming back. But everybody else has, so interesting to see her there. Let's see. I took a note. So then we heard that Wendy and Eddie. So now, okay, let's go until after Bravo. Oh, one more thing with BravoCon. We heard that New York is coming back, and there's 3 confirmed returning cast members, and that's Jessel, who, by the way, looks stunning. I think Jessel's gorgeous. She kind of looked like Leva, although I'm not really a Leva fan, but like I confused them for a second there. But Jessel looked great. It's Jessel, Sai, and Aaron that are coming back. No more Jenna Lyons, which is kind of like sad, but you know, she's a prominent figure in New York anyway. She doesn't really need the show. And obviously we knew that Bryn wasn't coming back. Uba as well. So it's going to be nice to see these three return and who the cast members are, but at least we know that's kind of up and running and they're trying to get the wheels moving on that. It's become like those shows on Netflix where a season comes out and then we have to wait so many more years for another season to come out. And it's not like they air as they start filming. Like they film, they finish filming, then it goes into editing and production, and then they put it out, So it's like we have to wait twice as long, and it's annoying. People will lose interest. Congratulations to Gia Giudice, by the way, on winning Special Forces. Wow, so much Bravo stuff. I know that she had won that obviously prior to BravoCon, but the episode aired, I believe, right after BravoCon. So that was nice to see that as well. And nice to have Joe there and celebrate that with her, Moving into things that happened after BravoCon. So Gia winning Special Forces. Wendy and Eddie, I heard, were using fake credit cards for their business with different names. And it's like, Wendy, are you still going to deny what happened? Like, come on now. Like, just say. You don't have to. I mean, I know it's an ongoing investigation. Obviously, like, when you're in that situation, you're never going to admit guilt if you had allegedly done something wrong. But, like, the tour that you're going on to kind of prove your innocence, and then all these allegations come out that make it all seem otherwise. Like, maybe just keep the mouth shut until then. But pretending that you're 1,000% innocent, but then all this new information keeps coming out, it's just, you're treading in murky waters. I'm sorry, you are. I did hear, I kind of got sidetracked, but I just remembered something. The Madison and Sai situation is so funny. Because these two are petite little girls that are, not little girls, and by little I mean like tiny women. Like their body structure is like tiny. I feel like they're actually like so much alike, but this is a situation where two people are so much alike that they end up hating each other. My experience in situations like this, when it's two women like this that from the beginning have such strong feelings about each other, you end up becoming the best of friends. So again, trust the journey, and we'll see when that happens. And mark my words, Nas said it. But I think it's weird that like Madison was like, I don't know how it actually came up. Like, did Madison say, I know you? And she's like, I don't know you. Or I think Madison might have said like she's one of the meaner housewives, and that's how Sai kind of got defensive. She's like, I don't even know you. Like, why would you say that? I've never met you before. And then pictures and messages get leaked, and you can sit next to somebody but not know them. There's so many meetings that I go on to with some of the companies that I work for, and I'd be sitting next to somebody, I don't know them. Do I know of them? Sure. But like even Kyle Richards didn't know some of the housewives on the newer shows, or the shows that she just doesn't watch, because like it's a big family. I was just telling you guys that I wasn't able to watch Watch What Happened Live's BravoCon like clips over what happened, like the shows that they put together to show us, people that couldn't go there. I have no time. I'm still trying to catch up on some of my podcasts, and it's just like, there's just so much, especially when so much content came out, to try to keep up. So I could see not knowing. And like, I think Sai is on these shows, and like, she has to just maybe get with the sense of humor, But then again, I also don't take jokes really well. And like, unless I really know the person, if it's someone I don't really know and they try to joke with me, I get offended. I'm not one of those people that can just laugh it off. I'm like, who the fuck are you? And why the fuck would you say that? So I can see where Sai's coming from. But in the overall big picture, they're all part of the Bravo family. And I think there just needs to be a little bit more to be said about that, Lastly, this one's kind of interesting. So a couple days prior to the news about Todd and Candy coming out, I did see a tweet. And the tweet was like, it's official. Candy has removed her name from, or her maiden name, or her married name from her Instagram. And I remember one of the comments, and the person was like, well, did she always have her married name on her profile? And then the person that had created that post was like, actually, I'm not too sure. So in my head, I'm like, this is just another case of people don't actually have proof that her married name was there before, so now they're just speculating. Literally 2 days later, that same picture pops up and it's like, Bravo News. Candy and Todd are announcing a divorce. And I mean, I remember when they first got together. I think it's Mama Joyce, is that Candy's mom's name, was so against Candy getting with Todd because she was like, he doesn't have money, he's a broke ass, you deserve someone better. And I get that. And I think Candy is one of the most classiest housewives. Like, she has such, and I think this part of her being just in the limelight and part of Escape for such a long time, which is the R&B group that she was part of in the 90s and early 2000s, and I think still perhaps now, but she's so good at having boundaries around her personal life and not mixing the two. And she's so respectful of her mom, even though, like, I know in her head she's like, Mom, I like, if this was anybody else, I would have punched them out, you know? Even with the camera on and her mom just babbling and talking shit, she was able to maintain her composure and have complete, utter respect for her mom and be like, Mom, we're not going to talk about this, you know? So I can see why her mom, at the time that Todd had come into her life, mind you, Todd worked on production for the Real Housewives of Atlanta at the time. Her mom was like, you have worked so hard and you are such a good human being. Like, you deserve someone on your level. But Candy, I believe, was strong enough and still is to know, like, you know, you just can't help who you love. And they have like 2 kids and their blended family kind of, it really worked for them, you know, until it didn't. But I think that she's going to be okay. You know, she's very... she's a hustler and she is always working and she supports her family, and I don't know, she's just a very good woman to look up to. And again, I love the fact that she's not really reactive and she's able to, like, you know, calmly say what she wants without having to raise her voice. And again, I think being in this industry for a long time, you kind of learn that you have to put boundaries around certain things or else you'll just get eaten up alive, you know, by people. So, yeah, it was interesting. It was so interesting to see, like, all these dynamic personalities get together, you know. And I can't wait till I can go. I really wanted to go with my daughter, but there's an age limit, which I understand. There's alcohol there, and they don't always talk about the most age-appropriate things, so... I get it, you know, but like, hopefully Bravo is still around and the shows that I like are still around by the time my daughter Mercedes is able to be at the age where we can go to these, because like she watches it as well and she's like, I can't wait to go, and I'm like, I know. So yeah, that's gonna be exciting. Now Mercedes is, speaking of being age appropriate, she loves the Real Housewives of Mormon Wives. No, the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. Sorry. Guys, so much Housewives on my brain right now. But my daughter does love The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, and she's 12. So she's 12. She'll be 13 next year. But me and her are going to, she wants to recap it with me. So we're going to do it different for that show. We're going to sit in our beds and we're going to watch the episode. And as we're watching it, we're going to give our commentary. So that's going to be cool. So expect that first episode of that, the couple episodes to come out soon. I'm going to put out another episode for the Housewives recap this week. I'm going to do one whole episode on Orange County, and I'll do another episode on Salt Lake City, and as well as Potomac. Speaking of Salt Lake City, one last thing I want to throw in. Heather Gay has a documentary thing out on a 3-episode special. It's called Surviving Mormonism. It's so sad, but it is actually pretty good. Does it make me look at her different? I understand her choices still when it comes to her leaving the church. I don't like her as a messy housewife. Like, the same thing goes with Emily. I love Emily on her podcast and how she's like this boss-ass lawyer, but I hate Emily, especially this season, on Orange County because like her with the dynamic of women and just the events that played out, I did not like her on there. And same goes with Heather. I don't like Heather when she's on Salt, especially this season so far. I hate her on it. But I understand her a lot more watching Surviving Mormonism because of her perspective and the things that she kind of exposed and uncovered for the audience, you know? And that's commendable to leave a tradition that has been so ingrained. Like, I grew up having freedom of religion from my parents, you know? They moved here from Iran because they wanted to have freedom. And my parents are not practicing Muslims, but they were born that, you know? And not extremist Muslims. I mean, they're just like, and every time I went to church with one of my neighbors back in Red Deer, Alberta, they would allow me to go to Sunday school here and there with her, but they were like, when you get older, you pick your own religion and you can stay with your religion. But for now, just be open-minded. And so that's my parents for you, you know? So I can just imagine if it's forced down your throat and you're raised to think that this is like how life is and how you're going to achieve the best because you have God on your side, and then uncover the truth and have to leave that, you know? And I find those people really courageous because I hate being a sheep and following the crowd, and these people have kind of left on their own despite knowing the consequences and having almost everybody part of that life, you know? They have to leave everything behind. So yeah, I do sympathize with her that way, and I'm just so glad that she's kind of exposing the truth of it. I know a lot of Mormons and people in general are going to come on and be like, this is so like, this didn't happen in our church. This might be like, this might be just where you live, but it's still someone's experience with it, and all those people that she interviewed, it's their experience, and we're not going to dismiss it because it's happened to them. And trigger warning, there's so much SA talked about, so it happens in every religion, it happens in every culture, it happens everywhere. It's just raising awareness to it. So, yeah. But anyways, another episode will be, like I said, Salt Lake City and Potomac. Another episode will be Housewives of Orange County, and we'll cover it up to the reunions. And then me and my daughter will start on the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives as well. So, a lot of content coming out. Thanks for waiting, you guys. That's just going to be the Housewives episodes, and then I have some personal episodes coming out as well. So just hang in there, okay? Lots of content. Anyways, with that being said, have a great rest of the day, and we will be back soon.